research foundation. I'm a senior advocate and यसरी आजको कार्यक्रममा senior journalist एवं president press club of Sikkim Bhim Rawat जी को पनि उपस्थिति भइसकेको छ। सबैलाई मञ्चमा आएर आफ्नो आसन ग्रहण गर्ने हुन हार्दिक अनुरोध गर्न चाहन्छु। Today, Anirban Ganguly ji, chairman and trustee of Dr. Syama Mukherjee Research Foundation and national spokesperson for One Nation One Elections. Similarly, we have senior advocate, senior politician and former MLA, Sikkim Legislative Assembly. Kindly do the honor. Sikkim is discussing the very most important discussion that has to happen, that is going on the nation today. In this August gathering, we will be discussing the future of electoral politics in this divisive Bharat and era.
सबलाई धन्यवाद दिँदै आजको यस वन नेसन वन इलेक्सन सेमिनारको तत्त्वावधानमा मेरो समुदायलाई अगाडि बढाउन आजको मुख्य अतिथिको अनुमति लिन चाहन्छु। विशेष गरेर आज यस ग्याङ्टकको सेमिनार तत्त्वावधानमा हामी मञ्चमा विराजमान अति आदरणीय Dr. Anirban Ganguly sir, chairman and trustee Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee Research Foundation. यसरी नै हाम्रो सिनियर पोलिटिशियन अथवा सिनियर एडभोकेट श्रीमान Janata sir, यसरी नै सिनियर जर्नलिस्ट प्रेसिडेन्ट प्रेस क्लब अफ सिक्किम, यस्तै प्रकारले Dr. Thapa, senior advocate, additional chief AG of Sikkim,
former. ठीक है सर।
श्रीमान Prasad शेर्पा, सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता, सीनियर पोलिटिशियन, इसी प्रकार सोलन शेर्पा, सोशल एक्टिविस्ट अथवा सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता, सिक्किममा विभिन्न अर्गनाइजेसनहरू खोलिएको छ। त्यस्तै अर्गनाइजेसनहरूमा सिप्ल्यान्ड, सिक्किम मूलवासी, सिक्किम मूल निवासी, सिक्किम नागरिक समाज, सिक्किम प्रेस क्लब अफ मिडिया अनि सम्पूर्ण पार्टीको सदस्यहरू अनि कलेजेस युनिभर्सिटीबाट आउनुभएका इक्वा कलेजका विद्यार्थीहरू, बुर्तुक गभर्मेन्ट कलेज, बुर्तुक ल कलेज, यी सबै भविष्यका कर्णधार, भविष्यका निर्माता अनि भविष्यका ताराहरू नानीहरू पनि उपस्थित हुनुहुन्छ र सम्पूर्ण सबै यस भवनमा पार्टीमा जति पनि फरवर्ड हाम्रो ग्याङ्टक मेयर पनि हुनुहुन्छ श्रीमान शक्ति सिंह चौधरीज्यू, पार्टीका सम्पूर्ण सिनियर कार्यकर्ता सबैलाई आजको जुन वन नेसन वन इलेक्सन का जुन सेमिनार छ यस सेमिनारमा उपस्थित हुनुभएका सम्पूर्ण महानुभाव आदरणीय बन्धुहरूलाई मेरो सम्पूर्ण तर्फबाट मेरो आफ्नो व्यक्तिगत तर्फबाट यस सेमिनारको तर्फबाट हार्दिक स्वागत तथा न्यानो अभिवादन व्यक्त गर्दै छोटकरीमा मेरो सम्भाषण लिएर राख्ने अनुमति चाहन्छु। धन्यवाद।
हार्दिक धन्यवाद किशोर भाइजी, सिटिङ पञ्चायत हजुरले समस्तलाई एकै मुष्टमा आजको कार्यक्रममा स्वागत जनाइदिनु भयो। हामी माझ मणिपाल युनिभर्सिटीबाट पनि उपस्थित छात्र समुदाय एवं समस्त प्रोफेसर्सहरूलाई पनि म आज यस कार्यक्रममा स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु। र अविलम्बित म कन्भेनर वान नेसन वान इलेक्सन्स साङ्गे ग्याप्स भोटियालाई आफ्नो मन्तव्य राखिदिनमा सादर अनुरोध गर्दछु।
A very good morning everybody. सबैजनालाई गुड मर्निङ भन्न चाहन्छु वान नेसन वान इलेक्सनको तर्फबाट। आज यहाँ सिक्किममा पहिलोचोटि वान नेसन वान इलेक्सनको एउटा सेमिनार आज हामीले आयोजित गरिरहेको छौँ। यहाँ some of you might be wondering what is one nation one election, what are they doing, who are they भनेर तपाईहरुकोमा एउटा प्रश्न पनि होला है। आज तपाईलाई म छोटकरीमा in short in brief I'll explain to you what is one nation one election and who are one nation and one election. Firstly, one nation one election, as the sentence says, one nation one election means simultaneous election of Lok Sabha, assembly constituencies plus local bodies. Yo brief ma तपाईलाई मैले explain गरेको, this is one nation one election. अब यो सेमिनार कसले अर्गनाइज गर्दैछ भन्दा who are organizing this seminar भन्दाखेरि one nation one election को एउटा कम्युनिटीले यो सेमिनार अर्गनाइज गरेको हो। who are one nation one election? म सिक्किमको कम्युनिटी one nation one election को म कन्भेनर हो है। आज मसँग हाम्रो कीनोट स्पिकर है हुनुहुन्छ, उहाँ चाहिँ हाम्रो one nation one election को तपाईले भन्नु पर्यो भने नेशनल स्पोक्सपर्सन भन्दाखेरि पनि हुन्छ। को one nation one election community भन्दाखेरि we are a group of like-minded people which is spread across India. बुझ्नुहोस् है, we are a group of like-minded people which is spread across India who thinks and who believes one nation and one election is essential for growth of our country. अब यसको I will not go in depth of कसरी चाहिँ है यसले हाम्रो कन्ट्रीलाई सपोर्ट गर्छ र कसरी सपोर्ट गर्छ म इन डेप्थमा जान्दिनँ। यसको लागि हाम्रो कीनोट स्पिकरले आई थिंक विल टच इन्टु इट हाउ इन्डिया विल प्रोग्रेस जब हामीले वान नेसन वान इलेक्सन इम्प्लिमेन्ट गर्यो भने है। त्यो भन्दै आजको हाम्रो कीनोट स्पिकर हुनुहुन्छ, हामीसँग आज हाम्रो माझमा हुनुहुन्छ, हिज नेम इज डक्टर अनिर्बन गाङ्गुली जी। Now I'll give you a brief introduction of who is Ganguly ji.
Very brief.
Yeah, very brief. As he said, very brief. He is chairman and trustee of Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee Research Foundation, a think tank based in New Delhi. Right? From ideological and political issues to public policies to foreign and internal security, defense issues to climate change and rivers. यो सबै इश्यूजहरु Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee Foundation रिसर्चले चाहिँ हेर्छ है। बुझ्नुहोस् है तपाईहरुले। So this is a very big think tank. Plus Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee Research Foundation को थ्रुबाट Mr. Ganguly has represented India in several countries. म एक दुईवटा कन्ट्रीज को नाम मात्रै भन्छु है, जुन चाहिँमा रसिया छ, फ्रान्स छ, जर्मनी छ, सिंगापुर छ, बेल्जियम छ, भियतनाम छ, जापान, स्पेन, the list goes on and on. है ल। And lastly, Dr. Ganguly is also an author. Right? He has edited and co-edited. There are numerous books which he have authored, co-edited and edited. I'll just name a few of them. Those are From Partition to Progress, Persecuted Hindus and Struggle for Citizenship in 2024. Another one is Upendranath Banerjee, Memoirs of Revolutionary 2023. After The Master, Sri Aurobindo and the Quest for National Education 2023. After Syama Prasad Mukherjee, His Vision and Education 2017. अझै धेरै छ, but the last one I would like to say in front of you is Swami Vivekananda, Buddha and Buddhism, 2014. So these are some of the books that he have authored, edited and co-edited. Right? And then lastly, to conclude, right, India is a democracy. We are people, right? We are a community who advocates one nation and one election. But today, we are not here to impose any ideas upon you. We are not here to impose any ideas on you. India, since I said earlier, India is a democracy. All of you, right, has an individual right to decide what is right and what is wrong. We are not here to impose any ideas on you. So, to conclude, I will urge all the representatives present here today to listen to this seminar with an open mind, without any prejudice, right, and without any biases. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Convener Sangha Bharatiya, for presenting in brief what is One Nation, One Elections to every one of you here in this auditorium. So, we are eager to hear from our keynote speaker, Dr. Ganguly, in regards to the foresaid topic in the national domain, what's happening in regards to One Nation, One Election, what is the future course of action, and how we should proceed for achieving our Viksit Bharat goals, and what is the role played by One Nation, One Election in culminating every progressive ideas and foresights together. So, I'd like to welcome Dr. Anirban Ganguly ji, Chairman and Trustee of Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee Research Foundation, here with us to present his idea and keynote address. Thank you.
सबको नमस्कार। और मैं विशेष करके आप सबको धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ। हमारे विशिष्ट अधिवक्ता श्री और हमारे गार्जियन, यहाँ हमारे गार्जियन सिक्किम श्री थापा जी, वरिष्ठ पत्रकार और प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ प्रेस क्लब ऑफ सिक्किम श्री भीम रावत जी, और मेरे मित्र पेम्पो लेप्चा जी, और कन्वीनर ऑफ वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन मेरे युवा मित्र संगे जी, आपको और आपके पूरे टीम को, यहाँ जो सारे जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स हैं आपके टीम में, आप सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और आभार प्रकट करता हूँ। I express my deep gratitude for organizing this program at quite a short notice, I believe, but so well done, so well laid out, so well planned, and the ambience itself, जैसे आपने कहा, आपने भी कहा, this is an attempt to encourage and generate discussion, and so this ambience itself is an ambience which encourages discussion, which encourages debate, which encourages a certain openness to new ideas. इसलिए आप लोगों को बहुत धन्यवाद फिर से मैं देना चाहता हूँ। मेरा हिंदी इतना अच्छा नहीं है, इसलिए मैं हिंदी में नहीं कोशिश करूँगा। आपको बगल में ही पश्चिम बंगाल है और वहाँ कुछ ऐसे व्यक्ति हिंदी में बोलते रहते हैं, उनका हिंदी समझ में नहीं आता है। मेरा हिंदी तो उनसे बेहतर है, पर फिर भी मैं कोशिश नहीं करूँगा हिंदी में बोलने के लिए। I would speak in English, but I can assure you that I am completely decolonized. I can speak various Indian languages. The uniqueness of our country is that we are a multilingual country. All languages are national languages. Indian by nature is multilingual, which is again unique distinction in across the world. Now, you see, I am most happy because we have such a young audience here, and especially my young friends from the university, from the various colleges. We were also in universities and colleges. We were also young once upon a time. So it's always wonderful to have such an audience here. Primarily because when we are discussing one nation, one election, it is about the future of the country. It is about the future of India. It is about your future. Now you may be aware that Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, has often used one terminology very earnestly and with a lot of conviction, and that is Amrit Kal. So the next 25 years, when India will, at the end of 25 years, when India celebrates the centenary of her freedom and independence, 2047, this period of 25 years, he designates, he terms as Amrit Kal. And he says that it is you, my young friends, students, scholars, researchers, in university and colleges, it is you who are in the next 25 years going to shape yourself, going to train yourself, going to equip yourself, and India post 2047. It is you who will give leadership to that India post 2047. And it is in this Amrit Kal that he has set the goal of Vikasit Bharat, a developed India, no more a developing country or a developing India. So we lay the foundations of a developed India, and it is you who are going to lead that developed India, Vikasit Bharat. So I would also urge you, as we take forward this discussion across the country on one nation, one election, I would also urge you to imagine yourselves as to what is it that you want to be. How do you see yourself 25 years hence? All of us would be mostly in retirement. You know, we would be writing our memoirs or doing something else. But it is you who will be leading this country. So how do you see yourself? And it is against that backdrop that this debate is this discussion is extremely important. Now I'll take you through certain facts and figures, certain points. And I would urge all of you, I would first urge two things. One is, please read, if you have the time, if you have the energy, please read the 322-page report of the high-level committee on one nation, one election, simultaneous election, chaired by Sri Ramnath Kovind, former President of India, and incidentally he was also chairman of Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee Research Foundation. And I had the good fortune of working very closely with him. We had also Sri Arun Jaitley as our chairman. And he was one of the early proponents of simultaneous election. And I mentioned it the other day also, if Sri Arun Jaitley was present here as a legal luminary, I'm not talking about him as a political leader, as a legal luminary, I think it would have been a feast listening to him. So please download the 322-page report of the high-level committee. Usually in this country, some people are there, ban a book. Ban the book. If you ask them, have you read the book? No, we want it banned. We have not read the book. So please read the book and then say whether it should be banned or not, because that is actually an authentic intellectual exercise, and we are all gathered here today as informed citizens who want to engage into an informed debate. So the first step for an informed debate is to do research, is to have your facts and figures, is to have your documents, is to read them, and then you form your opinion. So first is that. Second is, please differentiate between allegation and criticism. You must have heard Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's podcast. It was a very interesting podcast, and there he made many points. One of the points he made is, please make a differentiate between allegation and criticism. Oh, one nation, one election is going to lead to Modi becoming a dictator. Allegation. One nation, one election is going to be domination of one party. Allegation. One nation, one election is going to finish all regional parties. Allegation. Bring up criticism. Come up with your criticisms. And these criticisms can only come if you are informed. If you have gone through the documents. If you have gone through all the opinions that are being generated and that will be generated, and then you form your opinion. When I was leaving Delhi yesterday, somebody told me something very interesting. Said that, oh, you are going to Sikkim, one nation, one election. But Sikkim में तो one nation, one election है ही. तो आप क्यों जा रहे हैं वहाँ? मैं तो ओडिशा में भी one nation, one election था. इसलिए जा रहे हैं क्योंकि हमारे सामने उदाहरण है. हमारे सामने उदाहरण है. और जहां वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन है, वहां के लोग का क्या ओपिनियन है, वो कैसे वो ओपिनियन डिश आउट करते हैं, दैट इज ऑल्सो इंपॉर्टेंट. नाउ वी हैव सम टाइम. We have some time.
Yes.
So I'll just go very gradually, and I want you to remember that I'm not an expert. I'm not like Thapa ji. I'm not a legal luminary. I don't have a law background. I'm just a very ordinary researcher and a scholar. And I have also had the distinction of being in public life and of also contesting elections. And of seeing what that means. And of also feeling what election fatigue means. You contest one election and then 1.5 years later you have another election. In between you have a panchayat election. In between that you have a municipal election. Your panchayat election is coming next year. So which means you have to again get worked up. You have to again go for that campaign. You have to again start strategizing, which only means that 1 month, 1.5 months, 2 months, nothing else. Anyway, we'll come to that later. Now, I'll go from the present to the past. Just a few points that I want to make. Now, if you recall in January 2025, while addressing NCC cadets in Delhi, Prime Minister Modi said, one nation, one election is not just a legal reform. It is a movement for new India. Young minds like you must engage in this discussion, as you are the future leaders who will shape India's democracy. The Union Cabinet in September 2024, while passing giving the approval for one nation, one election, said the approval of one nation, one election is a historic step towards making India's democracy more vibrant and participative. It will reduce election-related disruptions and bring stability to governance. Now, I go back further. And if you see in December 2023, Prime Minister Modi gave an interview to a channel, and he said there that India's goal is of a $5 trillion economy. Every election costs India thousands of crores. Imagine the resources we can save and utilize for development if we conduct elections together. This is about smart governance and fiscal responsibility. Now I go back further, 15th August 2023, from the ramparts of the Red Fort, Prime Minister Modi says, one nation, one election is not just a matter of debate, but a necessity for Vikasit Bharat. A synchronized election system will free governance from continuous election cycles, ensuring that leaders focus on policy making rather than constant campaigning. An elected representative to the Lok Sabha has a constituency. The constituency that I contested from in 2024 had 20 lakh voters. A constituency of that size of 20 lakh voters. Now the person, the elected representative, wins from Lok Sabha. After winning, within 2 months, elections are declared in some other states, he is sent for campaigning. He is there for 2 months, 3 months campaigning. He can be a star campaigner. What happens to his constituency? Election is over, he comes back for 3 months, again there is election in another state, he goes there as star campaigner. The party sends him, he cannot say that I will not go. What happens to his Lok Sabha constituency? He has 20 lakh people to connect to, he has 20 lakh people to cater to, and various challenges in Lok Sabhas of that size. For that matter, in any constituency there are challenges. Population pressures, various challenges, balancing federal and state. So, does he have the energy to continuously engage with these constituents as well as to campaign? Anyway, we'll come to that point. Now, I go back further. In 2020, November 2020, addressing the All India Presiding Officers Conference in Gujarat, Prime Minister Modi said, India had, now this is a very important point, India had simultaneous elections in the past and it worked efficiently. The time has come to bring this system back for a more stable and developed democracy. Electoral reforms must ensure that governance is not hindered by continuous election cycles. Please remember, 1951-52, December 1951 to January 52 was the first general election. And from 1951-52 to 1967, this country had simultaneous elections. So it is not that it is something which suddenly Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi woke up one day and decided and imagined that we should have simultaneous election. For nearly 2.5 decades, this country, and especially the first 2 most challenging decades, and please remember that Dr. Syama Mukherjee founded the Janata. The Janata was founded in October 1951. Why I am giving you this example is that the political lineage that Prime Minister Modi belongs to is a lineage which spent 50 years in the opposition. And for 50 years in the opposition, that lineage did not question the voting structure, it did not question the election commission. Every time it lost, it did not say that the election process was flawed. It accepted the verdict of people. The Janasangh got just a little more than 3% vote, and it was recognized as a national political party. In 1951, October, the Janasangh was formed, and in December it went into election. And in spite of that, it got 3% vote. And for the next 50 years, whether it was the Janasangh or whether it was the BJP, in every election it increased its vote share. So, and it increased its vote share, it contested election for 2 decades when there was simultaneous election. There was no problem with the system then. So if there is a genuine debate, an attempt to bring back that system, to examine that system in the context of today, to say that the system never existed, it is a new idea, I think it doesn't bear scrutiny of history. In 2018, there was an all-parliamentary meet that was called. And in that parliamentary meet, again, Prime Minister Modi said, frequent elections disrupt governance and developmental activities. Imagine the amount of time, money, resources spent on separate elections. We must seriously discuss one nation, one election for what? For a stronger democracy. So friends, I just took you back. I took you back from 2025 to 2018. Nearly 8 years, 9 years, when this debate has been continuously happening, when references to this has been continuously made at all forums. You see at NCC cadets addressing NCC cadets, addressing presiding officers, addressing the industry leaders, and addressing all party meetings, this issue has been consistently brought up. Now, if you go back further, as I said, because it is very important to understand the historical context. It is only when we understand the historical context, and all this is there in the open domain. You can do your own research. my young friends, especially those of you who are interested in political science, who want to take up a career in political science research, governance and public policy, you can do this research. Now, as I mentioned, I will quickly take you through a relook at phases of history. Post-independence, 51 to 67, India conducted simultaneous elections. 1. 1960 onwards, separate elections began due to new states and crumbling governments. Please remember that article imposition of President's Rule, Article 356, had also a major role to break the balance. And also let us remember that these first 2 decades, the opposition in India played a major role for the republic's stability. In the first general elections, the combined opposition vote was more than the vote polled by the Congress, percentage of vote. And Dr. Syama Mukherjee was considered to be the undeclared leader of opposition. 1967, the last simultaneous elections took place. The Congress lost in a number of states and coalition governments emerged in a number of states, the Janata and other parties. As soon as coalition governments emerged in a number of states, these coalition governments were targeted and they were also dismissed. It is part of our political history. You can read Rajni Kothari, you can read a number of other authors who will give you an exact insight into what happened in 1967. The dominance of one party broke and frequent dismissal of state governments took place. 1983, now this is a very important point. In 1983, the Election Commission of India revived the idea of simultaneous poll. The Election Commission of India in 1983 said we should relook at the proposal of the structure of simultaneous poll. And in 1984, most of you must have been in your previous incarnation. And I remember I was in class, I was just 8 years old. I was still, going around and looking at birds and butterflies and all that. 1984, the BJP promised reinstating one nation, one election. If you look at the BJP's manifesto, it is not a new idea. If you look at the manifesto, it gave a number of suggestions. It gave nearly 11 suggestions for electoral reforms. And in that, point number 6, hold state and central elections simultaneously every 5 years. Among the suggestions also was this: give the right of vote to all those above 18. Introduce identity card for voters. Number 3, use electronic voting machines. And to this end, make necessary changes in the election law. In 1984, simultaneous election. It is talking about issuing voter ID card. It is talking about using EVMs. It is talking about giving voting rights to above 18. So, it is nothing new. In 1999, the Law Commission's report, the Law Commission at that time headed by Justice B.P. Jeevan Reddy, advocated simultaneous election. In 2015, Parliamentary Standing Committee report favored simultaneous election. And if you see, the Parliamentary Standing Committee was at that time headed and chaired by Congress Member of Parliament E.M. Sudarshana Nachiyappan. And it advocated simultaneous election. 2015, the Parliamentary Standing Committee said, the committee noted that the holding of simultaneous elections to Lok Sabha and state assemblies would reduce, 1, the massive expenditure that is currently incurred for the conduct of separate elections, 2, the policy paralysis that results from the imposition of the model code of conduct during elections. You know what happens when there is a model code of conduct? There is a prolonged model code of conduct. This time the Lok Sabha elections were for 3 months. And in some constituencies, some candidates had to campaign for 3 months. because their name was announced in the first list, and the elections, the voting took place at the end on the last day. So for 3 months, and for 3 months you have to live under the model code of conduct. All over the country the model code of conduct is there. Some variations are there piecemeal, but overall it is model code of conduct. You can't make appointments. The other day I was addressing a university gathering. The principal there said, he said that we could not make any appointments. Appointments are delayed. Schemes are delayed. Sanctions are delayed. There is a policy paralysis. There is a paralysis of governance because of the model code of conduct. So the Parliamentary Standing Committee in its point number 3 says impact on delivery of essential services. And number 4, burden on crucial manpower that is deployed during the election time. Huge displacement of teachers. School buildings are occupied. Government servants are delinked from their daily responsibilities and duties and sent off. Schools are closed. Security forces are pulled across from various regions and deployed for election purposes. From the border, from sensitive zones. For 3 months there is a continuous movement of security forces all across the country. There is fatigue which comes in. So crucial manpower that is deployed repeatedly during elections are therefore divested and diverted from their actual primary duty. And this we are not saying. This is the Parliamentary Standing Committee headed by Congress Member of Parliament Sudarshan Achiyappan made a very valid point. In 2019, the all-party meeting organized by the NDA government on One Nation, One Election. September 2023, the high-level committee was formed. March 2024, the high-level committee gave its report after 6 months of consultation. And in December 2024, the bill was reintroduced in Parliament. So I just wanted to run you through the background and the history. Now, what I'll do is I'll come back to the micro details a little later. But let us have a look at this. The high-level committee headed by Ramnath Kovind. 83% of the online feedback that it received, 83% were in agreement on One Nation, One Election. 50% of the political parties consulted agreed on One Nation, One Election. 100% former Supreme Court judges consulted, agreed. 75% former Chief Justices of High Court consulted, agreed. 100% former Chief Election Commissioners of India consulted, agreed. 87% plus State Election Commissioners consulted, agreed. Bar Council of India agreed. ASSOCHAM agreed. CII agreed. FICCI agreed. So one cannot say that the 322 pages document was done just in the air, that there was no consultation. And for those of you who are educationists here, you know the national education policy. The national education policy also was formulated in the same manner. There was a consultation right from the grassroots upward. Stakeholders were consulted, educationists were consulted, elected representatives from Panchayat to Parliament was consulted. So I think the intention cannot be doubted, because this is the kind of consultative exercise over 191 days that the Ramnath Kovind committee took place, that the committee took, initiated. Now, in 2019, I mentioned to you about the Parliamentary Standing Committee of 2015. In 2019, senior leader Sharad Pawar acknowledged in a letter to Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prasad Joshi that the idea of One Nation, One Election is a good one. Late Kalaignar Karunanidhi, in his autobiography, writes that constant elections were leading to policy paralysis, and yet today his party is opposing one nation, one election. I'm sure Kalagnan, being 50 years in public life, had a better understanding of many things. Whether you agreed with him or not, that's a separate issue. But as a public personality, as a towering intellectual, he was someone, and as a nearly seven-time Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, I'm sure he had a better understanding of the system than many. Now, let us look at some of the details of the Ramnath Kovind committee, and then we'll come back to some other points. Now, please remember that in the last 7 decades, this country has witnessed, has participated, has contested in nearly 400 elections in the last 75 years. 400 elections. So I think when a country has contested, participated in 400 elections, it is not only emerging as a model of electoral democracy and structure across the world, but it surely entails to have vigorous and rigorous debates on the electoral process. We have given unto ourselves that right and that capacity to discuss and debate elections. Now, as I said, that 80% of the respondents agreed, 191 days took place, registered political parties were consulted, former CJIs were consulted, former CECs were consulted, High Court judges were consulted, economists were consulted, Bar Council of India, FICCI, ASSOCHAM, all were consulted. And not only the not only the big states. This consultative committee also went around all corners of the country, Andaman, Nicobar, Lakshadweep, Nagaland, Dadar and Nagar Haveli. And the highest responses were received from Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, West Bengal, Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh. And in-depth research and analysis also took place. And an alternative enabling framework was suggested by the committee. Separate elections, what the committee says, is waste of resources, and as we discussed, policy paralysis, and a huge socio-economic burden, and it leads to voter fatigue. You tell me, many of us have experienced voter fatigue sometime or the other. फिर से जाकर वोट करना है क्या? अभी तो किया, अरे चलो इसको छोड़ देते, आगे वाला इलेक्शन में करते हैं, क्या फिर से लाइन में खड़ा हो, छोड़ दो. And this repeated voter fatigue which comes in is what then dilutes the actual mandate, the actual opinion and will. Babasaheb Dr. Ambedkar, please look at his debates once the constitution was ready and was placed before the house. And he says what matters is the quality and the type and the texture of the government that you form. Elections are important, there is no doubt. But those elections must enable you to select the best performing government. On that there can be no compromise. And simultaneous election, please remember, was completely passed by the Constituent Assembly of whose member were people like Sardar Patel, Babasaheb Ambedkar, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, K.M. Munshi, Dr. Syama Mukherjee, and everyone across the political spectrum were part of that Constituent Assembly which had endorsed simultaneous election. Experts say that simultaneous election will not be anti-democratic, anti-federal, will not violate the basic structure of the constitution. The argument that it will violate the basic structure of the constitution, I don't know how it stands scrutiny, because there is no question of if simultaneous election were to violate the basic structure of election, then it would have been violated in 1951-52 itself, till 67. The basic structure of the constitution based on freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of action, secularism, everything stands that has nothing got to do with simultaneous election. And in fact, the First Amendment, if you were to see the First Amendment that was brought in 1951 to curtail free speech and free expression, that was the first assault on the basic structure of the Constitution. And it was resolutely opposed by Syama Mukherjee. It was opposed by 70 members of parliament from within the Congress parliamentary party. And the then Prime Minister was compelled to bring in the word reasonable restriction. So therefore, to say that it will violate the basic structure of the Constitution, I don't think any palpable and solid argument has been put forward till now. One argument is that simultaneous election will encourage voters to participate in larger numbers because it will reduce voter fatigue. Once in 5 years, you all go out and vote because you know this is your duty which comes once in 5 years. You don't postpone it for the next election. You don't say, okay, I'm not going to vote, I'm not here, I'm not there, I'll vote for the next election. Now, frequent elections, the committee says, leads to uncertainty, slows down government machinery, and half the time of 5 years is spent in election. You come to power, and then again the next election, you are again campaigning. There is another very crucial point that people like us, for us, we notice in other states. The movement of migrant voters, or migrant workers. Every time an election takes place, major election takes place, even a panchayat election takes place, you have migrant workers going back to their home state to vote and then come back. How many times do you want them to move around? Because they go spending their scarce resources, their money. So they go and vote for the assembly elections and then again come back. Again they have to go for Lok Sabha, again come back. Again they realize panchayat, because they live in a village, so it's very important for them to vote in the panchayat elections. So they go back again for panchayat elections. Huge displacement of migrant workers leads to disruption in industrial production, and that is what the industry bodies say. Simultaneous election, make it once, this huge movement will not take place. Most electoral rolls, now this is a very important point. The electoral roll is prepared by the State Election Commission with the help of the Election Commission of India. You have one epic number and you have one electoral roll. So the question of saying that you will have fake electoral rolls, fake voting IDs, the responsibilities of the State Election Commissions, because it is the State Election Commissioner which prepares and finalizes the roll. Once election, once a year, once in 5 years, will enable you to streamline the voters list, will enable you to make your epic number more effective, and will actually ensure that there is no dilution in the voters list and in the voting pattern. Now, there are certain frequent issues which come up, but when we talk about the amount that will be saved, I'm sure students from commerce and economists and finance backgrounds will be able to do it better. But broadly, if you look at this, in 2024 Lok Sabha elections alone, more than 1 lakh crore was spent. And this reflects a significant pressure on the national economy, on the national finances. And if the election takes place once in every 5 years, the Election Commission of India would need to deploy resources only once. The deployment of manpower would be only once. The requisition of other services will need to be made only once. And this, broad computations say, would lead to a savings of 12,000 crores. And the high-level committee says, if simultaneous elections had been implemented in 2024, hypothetically speaking, it could have increased the GDP growth by 1.5 percentage points, adding 4.5 lakh crore to the economy. This is the economic part. Again, if you look back, if you look at elections in the past, where in states simultaneous elections have taken place. In 99 in Karnataka, in Kerala in 1977, and in other states. You can make a study. Simultaneous election has seen greater voter turnout, has seen larger voter turnout. And if you look at why this larger voter turnout, because the fatigue is reduced. In Odisha, you see for years together, it took place. And there is another argument which says that, regional parties will get over, regional parties will not exist, and the voter will not be able to discern the difference between national election and central and state election. I'm sorry, I think we should not. It is not fair. I'm not saying we should not, you can. But I'm saying it is not fair to doubt the acumen of the Indian voter. Please take the example of Odisha. The voter there exactly knew in the last 10 years whom they want in Delhi and whom they want in the state. And then after 10 years, a gradual change has taken place. You please look at West Bengal also. In West Bengal, the case is a little different because voting actually doesn't take place there. Election Commission has to do a lot of reform. I said the ideal election model stops at the border of West Bengal. It stops at the Kalimpong border there and stops at the border there. I'll come to that later. But because of reduced voter fatigue and because of a discerning, and you'll see this pattern across the country, in every state, the pattern has been often different in the state and for the center. So let us not cast doubt, let us not cast aspersion on the Indian voters' acumen. The other point is, let us remember that this simultaneous elections is not going to be rammed in, is not going to be bulldozed in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years. The high-level committee, parliament, the cabinet has given a wide time frame. You gradually prepare for it. Then after the general election of 2029, it starts getting into action. And then it goes on to 2034, which means we have an entire decade to finally work it out. Because you are trying to bring back the system after 50 years, after 1967, after more than 50 years. So the idea of implementing the One Nation, One Election Commission is not in a hurry. It's not being done in a hurry. There is time being given. The structures are gradually being acclimatized. Options are being put forward. A time frame is being suggested. And then a gradual transition is being proposed, which is very clearly mentioned in the document of the high-level committee. And so therefore I say, please let's make a differentiation between criticism and allegation. I mentioned to you about 1983, the Election Commission of India had also mentioned simultaneous election. So had this idea been so outlandish, my point is, had this idea been so outlandish, the Election Commission of India wouldn't propose it. This idea won't keep coming up time to time in our discussions. This idea won't be mentioned by other experts over the years. And so we need to, as you rightly said, Sanjay, we need to keep an open mind. We need to keep ourselves completely abreast of all the facts and then make an informed position, take an informed position. Now, reduction of the influence of money power and the focus on governance. Now, I'll just give you a few examples which I have already stated, but which is important in our context. Here it is. Now, politicians will ignore voters if there are simultaneous elections. अब 5 साल में एक आएगा, छोड़ दो, अब क्या जाना लोगों के पास. आप 5 साल में लोगों के पास नहीं जाओगे तो 5 साल बाद आप वापस नहीं आओगे. ये समझ में रखना चाहिए, याद रखना चाहिए. अगर इलेक्शन एक बार भी होता है 5 साल में, आपको लगता है कि मैं 5 साल के 1 महीने पहले जाऊंगा, लोग अभी बहुत सचेतन हो गए हैं। उनको मालूम है कि केंद्र में हमें किसको चाहिए, स्टेट में किसको चाहिए, क्या चाहिए, जानते हैं। बट simultaneous election will provide leaders, as I said, of various political parties more time to focus on their respective constituency and, more importantly, directly engage with citizens, with their voters. Regular election campaigns across the country demand significant attention from leaders, often requiring them to undertake campaign in various parts of the country. ये तो आप जानते हैं, ये मुझे स्पेसिफाई करने के लिए भी जरूरत नहीं है। आज ही हम लोग बैठे लिस्ट बनाए ना कि अगले 3 महीने में कहाँ इलेक्शंस हैं, 9 महीने में अगले कहाँ इलेक्शंस होंगे, तो आपको समझ में आ जाएगा कि अरे अगले अभी से शुरू करके अगले 9 महीने तक सारे इलेक्शंस हैं वेरियस स्टेट्स में। तो इसलिए वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन विल अलाउ लीडर्स टू डेडिकेट मोर अटेंशन टू सिटीजंस इन देयर कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज एंड स्टेट्स, and it will allow national leaders to effectively engage with their local constituents. The other point I made was, on numerous occasions when Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly elections in a state have been conducted simultaneously, voters have given different verdicts. आप लिस्ट बनाइए, you make a list, at least 5 states you will be able to say where voters have given different verdicts. For there'll be years together voters have given different verdict. As far as I remember from 1997, all Lok Sabha seats would be won by the Bharatiya Janata Party. In 1997 it was the Congress, Sheila Dikshit ji's government, all seats, assembly seats would be won by them. Later on, all Lok Sabha seats again continuously for the last 25 years won by BJP. And then the assembly seats were won by, assembly was won by AAP, a new party. So this is just one example. You look at Odisha also. Increasing vote tally of the BJP in Lok Sabha and continuous governance of BJD in the assembly. It went on for years, for nearly 25 years. And then organically it shifted, it changed. Because at a certain point the voters perhaps decided, okay, no, we want to now go in for the national party. Nothing is granted. Nothing is granted in this kind of system of election. Unless you engage and you can deliver, you are accountable and you are governance oriented, nothing is granted. So a leader cannot take anything for granted. And in the all party meeting that took place in 2019, because people say no, that regional parties are going to suffer. Regional parties will get dissolved. Regional parties, if they have to contest election once in 5 years, will not be compelled to continuously amass resources in order to continuously fight elections. And the best part is, in the all-party meeting, out of 19 parties in attendance, 16 parties favored the idea of simultaneous election, and these included regional parties such as the NCP, JDU, YSR Congress, BRS, LJP, SAD, Shiromani Akali Dal, NPP and the BJD. Most of the regional parties that really matter supported simultaneous election. And so therefore, I can continuously keep giving you more and more examples. I think I should leave it to you because the problem is one who keeps speaking, he feels very nice listening to his own voice. But those who have to keep listening to him, it is a little taxing for them beyond a certain point. So I think we should at certain point stop, but I think one nation, one election will lead to single party rule. I want to end with this. There are many questions which have arisen, and the high level committee has also answered that. One nation, one election will not lead to any change in the incumbent party in any state. There is no reason to believe that the same party will win the elections at both the levels, state and center, if elections are held simultaneously. And ample examples are there for that. So, friends, I just wanted to appeal to you that we are at a very crucial point in our history, especially in the history of India as a democracy, in India's democratic history. And I believe, therefore, any nation which is at the crossroads has to take a historic decision. We were at the crossroad, we took a historic decision to form the constitution. We were at the crossroad, a historic decision was taken to resist and to defeat emergency. We were at a historic moment, a historic decision were taken on a number of occasions. This also is a very crucial moment in our history. And let us remember that the Constitution, as Baba Saheb Ambedkar had said, the Constitution is what we will make out of it. Constitution is an instrument. It is an instrument to ensure that India's democracy, democratic fabric, democratic spirit is safeguarded. It is protected. And that Constitution is what we will make out of it. And therefore, that Constitution also will ensure the kind of government that we want. Can the election process, the electoral process, be transformed in such a manner which makes it not only smooth, which ensures that participatory democracy is really participative, and that people in their full vigor, in their full energy, actually go and vote for that which they want, for that government which they want. I think these are the dimensions and aspects that we need to consider when we debate and discuss this. Now, I just want to end with your neighboring state, West Bengal. There was a time when all of you know the kind of electoral violence that would take place at all levels in various states. That electoral violence is history in most states except West Bengal. And in West Bengal, election has become an industry. I say it is the election economy. So more the election, the more some people survive. The more the elections, the more some people run that industry. So you have state assembly elections, it is an industry. You have the panchayat election, it is an industry. You have the municipal elections, it is an industry. And this industry is very interesting. This industry is not only about money. This industry is about bombs, it is about pistols, it is about... You have an entire squad which is trained to capture booths. You have an entire squad. Nowadays you can't capture booths. But you can go and intimidate voters in the villages. They don't go and vote. Because the booths nowadays are surrounded by the central forces. Booth capturing has become now relatively, in West Bengal still capturing takes place, but it is relatively reduced. Relatively reduced because the central forces surround the booth. But if you don't allow voters to come up to the booth, what happens? I remember in 2021 in the assembly elections, in my assembly elections, I went around in the last 2 hours, I went around the constituency urging voters to go and vote. I would tell them, please go and vote whomever you want, but go out and vote. Don't sit and don't go out. They would tell me, sir, आप तो बोल के चले जा रहे हैं, आपने तो बोले चले जाच्छेन, बाद में हमारा दुकान आकर तोड़ेंगे, हमारा घर तोड़ेंगे, हमको थ्रेट करेंगे, सोशली बॉयकॉट करेंगे. And imagine this happening every time, 2021. Then 1.5 years you have 2024 elections coming. Then again now 9 months you have 2026 elections coming. Then you have the panchayat elections coming. You have the municipal elections coming. In a place, in a town like Bharatiya. How far from here? Just about, you go from here to Bagdogra. From Bagdogra to Siliguri, Bharatiya is 7 hours. From here to Bagdogra, Siliguri is 5 hours. Let's take it. So you can take a break and reach within a day Bharatiya. Imagine Bharatiya town, one of the most important town in central Bengal, which is a connecting town with North Bengal and Northeast and South Bengal. In Bharatiya town municipal election, one of my friends is a booth agent. He's a teacher in a college, in the women's college, a teacher. Wonderful human being. Suddenly he sees a revolver pointed at him. Hey, walk out. He walks out. And this was in the last municipal elections. So I am again not speaking here, I say I am not speaking here as a person who is identified with a certain ideology. I am speaking to you here as an observer, as a researcher, as a research scholar who has gathered a lot of data and document about these aspects of violent elections that take place in your neighboring state. Now what will happen is simultaneous election will close this industry. Once in 5 years. No income because no continuous election. What happens to the revolvers and bombs? 5 years you manufacture, they will be lying idle, and after 5 years they will not be in a situation to be used. And because it is simultaneous election, the entire focus, all resources, all deployment at once is taking place, and not continuously scattered all around. So I think there are various issues. There is sufficient time. Let the debate evolve. Let an evolution of thinking take place. Let all situations be examined. And I'm sure there is something extremely positive awaiting India's democracy. It will only strengthen India's democracy, and it will prepare a generation which will be confident, which will be focused to lead this country ahead and to see it emerge as a great power. Thank you so much for your extreme patience. I'm extremely grateful to you for according me this opportunity to share my thoughts, and that you have listened so patiently. I'm extremely grateful for that as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Extremely grateful for your keynote address here today in this honest gathering, and everybody.
I don't know whether there was any key in it. There was only some notes. I don't know whether you got the key.
Yeah.
Maybe the key can get me.
एकदमै सहज प्रकारले अनि सरल तरिकाले उहाँले हामीमाझ आफ्नो प्रस्ताव राखिदिनु भएकोमा डाक्टर गाङ्गुलीलाई समस्त यहाँ यस सभागृहमा उपस्थित तर्फबाट हार्दिक कृतज्ञता एवं धन्यवाद ज्ञापन गर्दै अब हामीलाई आउने दिनमा वन नेसन वन इलेक्सन्सको बारेमा कहाँ डिस्कसन्स गर्नुपर्ने, डिबेट गर्नुपर्ने अनि यसमा सुझाव प्रतिक्रिया एवं यसको बारेमा ज्ञान मञ्जरीहरू हामीले एकत्रित गर्नुपर्छ, यस बारेमा पनि हामीले चर्चा परिचर्चा गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने हेतुले अब भने हजुरहरुमाझ एउटा इन्टरेक्सन सेसन छ जसमा गेस्टसँग तपाईहरुले आफ्नो मन्तव्य अनि प्रश्न स्पेसिफिकली इन रिगार्ड्स टु वन नेसन वन इलेक्सन्स मात्रै तपाईहरु राखिदिनु हुन निवेदन गर्न चाहन्छु। अनि हामीमाझ केशवजी र समीरजीले माइक्रोफोन तपाईहरुलाई हस्तान्तरण गर्नुहुनेछ। एकाएक हजुरहरुले हात उठाएर आफ्नो प्रश्न राख्न सक्नुहुनेछ। You can raise your hands and place your questions and queries in front of the guest and speaker here today, and let us all bring together our knowledge and expertise that is hidden in the corners of our head, that has too much to express from this corner of the state that is already implementing this election module wherein Vidhan Sabha and Lok Sabha goes simultaneously. So let us send our suggestions and our feedbacks too in this regards. Ladies and gentlemen, I request you to raise your hands and put forward your questions and queries.
Welcome to Sikkim, sir. I'll one or two questions. I may increase one or two questions, but I'll be precise to your this thing. Like you were talking about that one election, one nation, and you're giving example of West Bengal. So my suggestion is that when you incorporate one election, the main you're speaking about the fear psychosis. So it happens in every state, not even West Bengal, and we have Sikkim has been an example of it, and I think your party president sitting beside you will brief you in that. So our suggestion is that it should be held under president's rule, because it changes many things in the state. Because when it is held under the party which is in the rule, whole administration is under them, whole police force, all sector magistrate and all are under that. So if it is held under president's rule, it will be very good, because the governor and the president. And secondly, you are talking about the purification of electoral roll. And in the case of Sikkim, we have seen in last election, like I've given that you said that state election has the right to add and all. Like, from last 1 year, from 1st January 2024 to 1st January 2025, our state electoral roll increase was in total state area was 0.75%. But in a particular constituency, the increment was 3%, which is above the state ECI limit. It should be 2%. So you imagine 0.75 to 3% means 400% increase in a voter in a particular constituency. And where a constituency average voter is in Sikkim is 12,000. So it made a hell lot of difference. So main question at present, like you are coming here and giving this seminar, is not that people don't want one election, but the trust in ECI is fading day by day. Then you have seen that National Party says that Prajatantra khatre mein hai, democracy is a threat, because trust is not there. For I shall give you an example. In Sikkim, we joined a nation in 1975. Like we had our own state election laws and all, but day by they are getting modified. Like Limbu and Tamang community got tribal status in 2002, but it's practical of state government writing, legislative writing to center. Till now, they've got that voting seat reservation in the state assembly. Why so delay? Why so delay in the giving seat reservation to the community? So we want that it should be, this ECI should be equal to all the states. It should not change norms by as they feel like.
Thank you, gentlemen, for raising your
And you should not. They should be transparent. We don't have a trust in ECI. 2019 election, we have seen there was high-level irregularity. A person, you say now, like you Supreme Court, that discussion is going on the purification of electoral, banning of convicted person for lifetime. But ECI changes norms as per their preference. So it should not happen. And the last point is like you said that we are having simultaneous election in state of Sikkim. The main problem what we faced was like, as per the ECI norms, in a polling booth, the voter percentage is 1,500. But in our case, when simultaneous elections are taking place, 1,500 voters are too large for a polling booth. Our election was voting was going on till midnight. So that should be reduced to 1,000 voters when you are having a simultaneous election. And when it comes to municipal election, then which will have 3 voting machines. Like in our state, in many polling booths, we had 3 EVMs, like we had a Sangha seat. So that should be considered, and that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I cannot say or endorse the point of view which says that the ECI is acting in a motivated manner. If I said that, I would sound like Mamata Banerjee, and I don't want to sound like her, because there is a peculiar ideology which says that if I lose, the EVMs are questionable and the ECI is questionable. But wherever I win, no, we want EVM and the ECI is perfect. So I think this show of duplicity should be exposed. If we start questioning, if public personalities start questioning constitutional bodies, then there is a crisis of democracy, there is a crisis of constitution in this country. Number 2 is, I refer to West Bengal because, I'm sure you have problems in Sikkim, but that Thapa ji and Sangya and others, Lecture ji, they are better equipped to address. In West Bengal, during the assembly election in 2021, over 100 people were killed. I don't think there was any fatality in Sikkim. In the Panchayat election, 54 people were killed. In my constituency, in 2021, a tribal boy, the day voting took place, one of our workers was standing out. an entire group came and bludgeoned and killed him. You see that gentleman standing? I don't have to take him around and go anywhere except when I'm in West Bengal, because on voting day, there was an attack on me. They tried to kill me. So, compared to that, here you are in paradise. So I think West Bengal is incomparable with other states. Even Bihar has graduated to another level. Uttar Pradesh also has graduated to another level. In that context, I was talking about the kind of election that takes place in West Bengal. Second is, I said the State Election Commission, with the help of the Central Election Commission, prepares the electoral roll. I mentioned West Bengal because you may have heard in the last few weeks, suddenly the Chief Minister of West Bengal and her party people are going around and saying that the BJP has sent voters from other states to West Bengal and they will vote for the BJP, and that is how BJP will win West Bengal. That is how BJP won Delhi. I think it is stretching the imagination too far. And in that context, I said, it is the State Election Commission which has prepared the electoral roll. The State Election Commission has dismissed that allegation. But even then, you have the Mayor of Calcutta, you have the Chief Minister of Calcutta, you have a large number of members of Parliament from her party who are going around houses and saying, hey, show me your vote. Are you a voter from here? Intimidating people already 9 months before the voting starts. I think it is a very undemocratic manner. If you have a problem with the electoral roll, please speak to the EC. Send your deputation. They have sent a deputation. Wait for that. Wait for the EC's reply. Why are you already going? First of all, it is outlandish. BJP cannot send voters from Jharkhand to go and vote in Bengal. Had BJP done that, we would have won West Bengal long back. It took us 25 years to win Delhi. We are in power in Delhi for the last 10 years, 12 years, in the central government. We have been winning all Lok Sabha seats from Delhi in the last 25 years. Had the BJP been a party which was very expert in sending voters from other states to go and vote in another state and change the government, it could have been done in many other places long back. Yes. So, and I think we need to be, sir, you are extremely senior, but I cannot, President's rule, for example. You look at the comparison between imposition of President's rule by previous governments and imposition by President's rule by this government. By philosophically, by nature, Prime Minister Modi is opposed to imposing President's rule. In extreme cases, that is different. And then, of course, maybe, saying the ECI does this, that. I'm too small a fry to speak.
One nation, one election माथि चर्चा गर्नुभयो, आफ्नो पक्षको कुराहरू राख्नुभयो, सबै कुराहरू उहाँले बहुतै राम्रो प्रकारले राख्नुभयो। कुरा त जजिन्छ, तर पनि अहिले नै तुरन्तै हामीले यसलाई लागू गरेर के सङ्कटहरू आउन सक्छ, त्यसमाथि पनि हामीले विचार गर्नुपर्छ। वर्तमान स्थितिमा हाम्रो राजनीति जो छ त्यसमा पैसा अनि मसलको जोर बेसी छ। अनि जबसम्म यो पैसा र मसल हाम्रो समाजमा, हाम्रो इलेक्सनमा त्यस मोडमा रहन्छ, तब यो एउटा सेवाको काम हैन, यो एउटा धन कमाउने एउटा बाटो। हामी आज 10 करोड खर्च गर्छौं अनि 50 करोड कमाउँछौं। त्यो हाम्रो अहिले प्रयोग चल्दैछ धेरै सालदेखि। अनि यो प्रयोगलाई बदलेर हामीले एउटा वान नेसन वान इलेक्सन प्रयोग गर्ने कुरा एकदमै राम्रो हो, तर यसमा एउटा खतरा अहिले वर्तमान परिस्थितिमा चाहिँ के छ भने, यदि यही हाम्रो पश्चिम बङ्गालकै कुरा गरौँ भने यस्तै सरकार 5 सालको लागि दिल्लीमा राज्यहरूमा भए कथनकाल त हाम्रो देशको स्थिति के हुन जानेछ त्यो हामी सबैले चिनेका छौँ। तब के हुन्छ भने त्यस व्यक्तित्वले जो राज गर्छ, त्यो चाहे कुनै पनि पार्टीको होस्, अहिले बिजेपी छ, कांग्रेस छ, पछि टिएमसी होला, कहिले को होला, त्यति बेला यस्तो खतरनाक पार्टीहरूले राज गर्नु थाल्यो 5 सालको लागि भने उनीहरूले जो मान्छेले, जो ग्रुपले, जो कास्टले, जो समुदायले उनीहरूलाई भोट दिएन, उनीहरूको चाहिँ प्रताडना पुरा 5 सालसम्म हुन्छ। त्यसको पनि हामीले सोच गर्नुपर्छ, त्यसको पनि हामीले बाटो निकाल्नुपर्छ। जबसम्म अन्त के हुन्छ नि 5 सालसम्म प्रताडना पाएपछि त्यो मान्छे खतम, त्यो व्यापार खतम, त्यो नेता पनि खतम हुन्छ। तर हामीले हाम्रो नेताहरूलाई चाहिँ बचाएर राख्नुपर्छ। नेताहरूले चाहिँ यो इन्भेस्टमेन्टको काम नगरेर देशमा सेवाको कुरा गर्नुपर्छ। पैसा र मसल पावरलाई चाहिँ खतम गर्ने पनि प्रयोग हामीले तत्पर रूपले गर्नुपर्छ।
Thank you so much. As I know, India drafted its constitution after 1950. So I represent my state, Sikkim. We have merged after 1975. So I would like to talk about regionalism. And I've seen after 95 to 2024, there are regional parties who got the mandate in our state. So I give my priority to the regionalism. So my question is on impact on regional parties. In what way might simultaneous elections disadvantage regional parties, and how could this impact the representation of local issues? That's my first question. And another is based on federalism. How would the synchronization of election affects the autonomy of the state government, and what implications might this have the Indian federal structure? And my last point is based on constitutional and legal hurdles. What constitutional amendment would be required to implement one nation, one election, and how might these changes impact the existing electoral framework? That's it.
They suggest Article 83. You have 82A now of the Constitution, which provides for 2 transitory provisions. Then you read that provision. You please read. They suggest Article 83. My point is that, as we discussed, regional parties in no way will be negatively affected. And if you see that list that I read out to you, most of the major regional parties supported simultaneous election. Regional parties which have sizable presence, MPs also in parliament as well, are ruling in this state. So I think, Prime Minister Modi says something very interesting. He says regional aspiration and national goal. There is no dichotomy between regional aspirations and national goal. I think that that narrative, that era of politics is passé. And I don't see in any provision, in any way, and Sir also, when Sir spoke also, let us remember that we are now trying to imagine and structure, putting something which is over the next 1 decade, which is going to manifest itself. 60 years back, there was simultaneous elections system. At that time, the entire situation, country situation, everything was different. In the last 60 years, it has evolved. And we are now speaking of that system back today. In another next 1 decade, it will be implemented. So if you look at the structure suggested and the benefits, one of the crucial points that it makes is that regional parties and regional aspirations will in no way be affected. It is only going to, as you also raised the issue about federal structure of governance. It uses the term of cooperative federalism. That the federal structure of governance will only be enhanced. Because I know the next 5 years I don't have to continuously contest you in your state. These are the duties of the central government, these are the schemes, the projects, the outreach that the government of India has to do for the state in partnership with the state. These are the things that the state has to do in support with the center. I don't see any way, because if you see
Sir, I just wanted to, I don't have criticism also. I don't have criticism also, I don't have allegation also, but I have apprehension. And apprehension is that you talk about 2 disruptions. Like Manipur is going through what disruption and emergency also, and administrative disruption also. So how will you ensure that there will be no disruption in future? 1 point. And as far as the security is concerned, whenever big states goes to poll, there are dearth of security forces. So how will the Indian manage?
There is multiple phases election and multiple elections. So if you are streamlining elections to once in 5 years, there is a complete focused deployment of forces and of resources. The challenge today is this: by the time the security forces come to my constituency, they are already tired. Because for 1-2 months they have gone around, 3 months they have gone around. They have no interest. One. Second is, nobody is Superman, no? Nobody is God. That you will not. How can you ensure that there will be no situations, conflict situations arising? If you have a country, if you have a free country, if you have a democracy, conflict is natural. Conflict situation will arise. Our constitution has faced it for 75 years. We'll face it for another 100 years. We'll address. But you have to have basic structures in place so that the voice of people is not muzzled. That is why I hope you took note of First Amendment in the Constitution. Sir is here, President of Press Club. First Amendment was curtailment of free speech and free expression. So the only question Dr. Syama Prasad Mukherjee, who opposed it, many others, H.V. Kamath, Syama Prasad Mukherjee, everyone, including a sizable section of journalists, led by Deshbandhu Gupta, who was a senior journalist, they said that you gave yourself 4 years. Syama Prasad Mukherjee said you took 4 years to prepare the constitution. We debated every single clause. Then after enacting the constitution, within 15 months you want to bring in the First Amendment on free speech and expression. Why? And that time in 1951 May, when the First Amendment came, it was not even an elected government. It was interim parliament. Election took place to the first Lok Sabha in 51 December.
Dr. Ganguly, please welcome to this small state. You have taken a pains to come here and explain us beautifully. So that is highly appreciated. But then overall presentation, what I have noticed is that what was the focus of one nation, one election. So the focus you have set is a waste of resources. That's number one. Then election fatigue, right? And then waste of resources. No, that I have also said. Manpower.
Governance.
Yeah.
No,
that is then all. Then you said that selecting the best government. The overall is the healthy democracy and the good governance for the inner welfare state, the public policy. So this, as our senior persons, one who has said that, unless and until we don't have an electoral process change, like using of a muscles power, right, and spending huge money. I saw the pumping of money in the election. Supposing a person like somebody, like a very credible person, wanted to participate, be in the politically, but the person with the credibility may not have that kind of money to spend, and that kind of that telling lies, because everybody says to become a good politician, you have to become a very good liar. So that everybody cannot do. So in that process, working on the ground, what I see is when we talk about it's a beautiful idea, it's a well taken concept when I heard about it. But then what has happened is now the constitution, certain provision will be amended and the RP Act will be amended. In that process, why not to go simultaneously the electoral process also? Like for example, I've seen the district collector, supposing in a state assembly. So district collector plays the main role of everything, looking after it. So this district collector, there are a lot of progressive law, like a Juvenile Justice Act, Person with the Disabilities Act, Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace. All the members who read the implementation of such a wonderful law. To implement, then all the district collectors are the chairperson or on and on. But I have 25 years of my practice as a senior advocate. I have never come across a DC really taking initiative in this progressive legislation. I hardly see them talking about the Juvenile Justice Act. I hardly see Sexual Harassment Committee really working effectively. So in that circumstances, should we not have, my suggestion, should you not have a separate electoral institutions, independent, like we have a UPSC for selection, all that examination? Why should we have a proper separate independent bodies who are trained rather than engaging all this district collector in this process? So these are the people who are trained their work. 5 years, these are them engaged. One is independent, like somebody said, people are losing faith in the ECI. Definitely, across the country, they are losing. People with the tainted credibilities are exempted. So in such a situations, so if we have a credible person in the ECI, and then some institution which are very credible, so that in that circumstance, I do not think so. It will be really difficult to implement one nation one. And this will it works in a letter in a spirit. That is what my suggestion.
Very interesting. It's a very interesting institution I see evolving and coming up with the change and demands of times. And the election commission, our election commission has set a model across the country, across the world in fact. I think our election commission sees the largest number of bureaucrats and technocrats coming from other countries to get trained. That is one step. But these suggestions are extremely relevant as we evolve in this. An entire cadre of election commission who are trained for that, who can then work accordingly. So dependence on state officers reduces. These are some of us who have actually seen many things closely, we can feel. So the election commission has its own cadre or its own body to take. I'm sure, I think these will evolve in the coming days. So it's a very interesting point. Thank you.
सर मेरा दो क्वेश्चन है. एक प्रोविजन है कि नहीं, एक कैंडिडेट दो कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी से इलेक्शन फाइट कर पाएंगे कि नहीं, क्योंकि फिर इलेक्शन में दो ही में जीते फिर बाई इलेक्शन का बात आ जाएगी. इसमें तो वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन में फिर बाई इलेक्शन का बात आ जाएगी. ये और हम लोकल बॉडीज का बात कर रहे हैं, मगर इंडिया में बहुत सारे ऐसे स्टेट हैं जहाँ पर लोकल काउंसिल से, जैसे आप बंगाल में देखिए तो दार्जिलिंग में जीके है, आसाम में देखिए तो आप बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल रीजन है, या 6 शेड्यूल के अंडर में बहुत सारी ऑटोनोमस काउंसिल है. उन लोगों का इलेक्शन का प्रोसेस क्या होगा इसको लेकर? ये दो क्वेश्चन
देखना पड़ेगा. आई डोंट थिंक इट इज समथिंग वेरी इंडोमिटेबल, मैंने कुछ अनसरमाउंटेबल नहीं है. दूसरा है, ये तो जो ऐसे टेरिटोरियल बॉडीज का आपने नाम किया है, क्या स्पेशल प्रोविजंस है, उसको कहीं तरीके से कोई टच नहीं करना होगा नहीं. दैट इज व्हाई आई से दैट हमारा इलेक्शन साइमल्टेनियस इलेक्शन और इनके लिए अलग से क्या है, इट इज इवॉल्विंग. इसलिए ये हाई लेवल कमेटी का सजेशंस है. दिस सजेशंस इज नाउ ओपन टू डिस्कशन. ये पार्लियामेंट्री कमेटी भी डिस्कस करेगा. अभी प्रक्रिया अभी चलने वाली ना. मैंने मेरा कहना है कि जिनको ऑटोनॉमी दिया गया है, अपने प्रक्रिया को फॉलो करने में इस सब रीजन में उसमें कोई हस्तक्षेप नहीं होने वाला है. आई एम राइट?
My question is, can the Election Commission of India manage election on such a large scale?
The Election Commission has been National Commission of India. Yes. No, don't look at your Google now. No AI. Who was the first Election Commissioner of India? Yes. Did you see Google or you knew it? Fantastic. I'm very impressed. Thank you so much. Others could not answer. You answered, so please give her a grand round of applause. No, I just said this because a few days ago, a young friend of mine, there is this scheme which Modi ji has started, PM Yuva. So you can hear, if you have a knack, if you are interested in becoming an author, you can apply for this scholarship. And so you can, for 1 year, you are given a scholarship by the National Book Trust to write a book, a biography on somebody, some interesting freedom fighter, somebody said. So a young friend of mine sent me a message the other day saying that, I want to apply for the PM Yuva scholarship and I want to write a biography of Sukumar Sen. I said, wow, that's very interesting. Because if you read about the first general election, you'll see how fantastic an exercise it was. So challenging in those circumstances. And then we continue till 2024. So obviously, no system is perfect. No system is ideal. We are not perfect, we are not ideal. We have 4 sides to our personality. I'm here smiling, now I want to go, I'm getting stressed, I'm getting annoyed. So that's my other side, but I don't want to show it to you. So no system is perfect. So it is for you to further do research and find out.
कल सियासत में भी मोहब्बत थी, आज मोहब्बत में भी सियासत है। डॉक्टर साहब, डॉक्टर अनिर्बन गांगुली जी के इनलाइटफुल वर्ड्स और विजडम के कारण से सिक्किम कृतज्ञ हुआ, हम सब कृतज्ञ हुए। थैंक यू डॉक्टर, वी आर वेरी blessed to be for having you here with your enlightening words and intellectual scholar par excellence amongst us. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. And we are the organizing committee.